The Topiary Cat, Chapter 19, Preparing for Falcon. Grandfather was honoured to have been granted a personal dialogue with the Topiary Cat and, despite being very busy working late at Nefertum Hall, made every effort to visit Richard and Katie that evening. He desperately needed to know exactly what was needed to avoid the possibility of further disasters at the estate. It was late when he arrived at the cottage, and dusk was falling fast. He glanced up at the Topiary Cat, but hurried on to the front door, resolving to have Richard and Katie alongside when they spoke together for the first time. For a second he became sceptical that his sculpture in foliage could possibly come alive. It looked just as he had created it a couple of weeks ago. Richard appeared at the door almost immediately after Tolly, swiftly followed by Katie. They gathered by the head of the Topiary Cat and waited. They couldn't discern any movement from the green giant, so they looked quizzically down at Richard's grey cat. Tolly seemed in something of a reverie, but hastily became alert, as if he had only just realised what was expected of him. He mewed softly. Foliage rustled and shook, and those vast green eyes opened once more. The Topiary Cat spoke at length to Baba, who listened attentively. Most of the instructions were straightforward, though complex to arrange in the short period before Falcon. Some tasks could be carried out soon afterwards, such as the cleaning of the lake and avoiding such contaminations in the future. The most daunting thing to Grandpa was that he was directed to speak to the attendees of the conference on matters that some of them may not wish to hear. He wasn't at all sure Colonel Greenwood would let him speak there at all, and Baba was not used to speaking in public, let alone to a possibly hostile audience. Katie had something else to say to Baba, which involved another request of the Colonel, and this was quite a big thing to ask.
"Oh, well," groaned Grandpa, "in for a penny, in for a pound."
Richard didn't follow his meaning, but his mother certainly did. Next morning, Richard's grandfather put on his smartest clothes and arranged a meeting with Colonel Greenwood. To his surprise and relief, the Colonel was remarkably affable for once. This severe man, who had been so stubborn and cantankerous in the past, had been chastened by previous events, and could see his plans for Nefertum Hall jeopardized if he didn't implement some changes. If his head gardener was likely to ease the transition to a better future for the estate, why would he impede him? He certainly didn't think his estate manager, even though he was very competent at making the place profitable, had the vision this older man possessed. Soon the Colonel was on the phone to the manager with clear instructions to change the running order of speakers, reprint the conference schedule, and prepare the tithe barn, normally used for wedding receptions, for a last-minute event. At home after school, Richard made a real fuss over Tolly. This loyal and brave companion had been a treasure and delight in this extraordinary adventure, so extra treats and lots of cuddles were given to him that evening. Much later, out in the garden, they both sat by the Topiary Cat. Richard informed Bastet that the Colonel at Nefertum Hall was going to let Baba speak at the conference, and she told Richard that she would make sure to be there in front of the building when the VIPs arrived. Richard sat bolt upright in alarm. "What? You're going to leave our garden, wander about the village and sit outside the hall? You'll terrify everybody and something horrible will happen. People do nasty things when they're confused and frightened. Calm down, Richard. I've thought hard about this. I have abilities far beyond mere mortals such as yourself. Don't forget, I am Bastet and have magical powers human minds cannot comprehend. I can change shape at will, assuming the appearance of topiary whenever there are suitable bushes to hide in. I will only move under cover of darkness, along hedgerows or through woodland. If I have no choice but to move during daylight, I shall only do so when no mortals are around. If unexpected people appear, I shall remain absolutely still, and can camouflage myself with ease. Humans are predictable. They only see what they expect to see, and few have an imagination as fertile as your own." But Won't someone notice you aren't in my garden when you wander about? No, they will not, young man. Watch, and I will show you. And with that, Richard and Tolly watched in awe and disbelief as the Topiary Cat got up and strode over to the far side of the garden with a loud rustle of foliage. Incredibly and confusingly, Grandpa's original topiary remained exactly where it was created. This one was different, though. They could tell that no spirit occupied it. It was simply a wonderfully sculpted bush, just as Baba had created it. How did you do that, TCC? I don't know. I don't understand. I know you could do magic, but that is just weird. You have no idea what miracles I can perform, have you? One day I shall tell you more of my secrets, but not today. Maybe your grandfather can guess. He has an inquiring mind and hates not understanding how things work. Ask him if he has any theories. With a swift farewell, the Topiary Cat padded stealthily into the direction of the Nefertum estate. Don't miss the next chapter of The Topiary Cat, read by Richard Saunders.